Hello and welcome to this week's Conversations with Marlene and Pascale. My name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic relationship and confidence coach, and I help women who are in unhappy relationships to decide whether to stay in their relationship and fix it, or to leave and start a new life for themselves, a new chapter with confidence so that they can thrive. And if they are mothers, so that they can be good role models for their children and teaching their children about healthy relationships. Marlene.
Fantastic. Just before I introduce myself, I want to say Pascale is amazing. So if you are thinking about getting some help and support, she's definitely the lady to go to. I just had to get that in there, Pascale. It feels important.
Thank you.
I'm Marlene Rose Shaw. I'm a therapist, coach, and self-help author, and I specialize in helping people have better relationships and more confidence in terms of letting go of old ways of being, people pleasing, and I help people find courage to be their true selves and lead confident lives, living on their own terms while still having kindness and care for other people and much better mutually respectful relationships. So today, Pascale, we're going to talk about stay or go, and you're going to be helping us understand why staying together for the sake of the kids may well be doing more harm than good. So
yes, absolutely. And it's such a tricky one. I mean, you know, every woman that I speak to, and I say women because I work predominantly with women, there are so many similarities in the stories that I hear, but of course every situation is completely individual, and has its own strengths, its own difficulties, and its own complexities. So even though there is a very strong common thread, each situation is very different and needs to be treated very differently. But I think, you know, and we're in a very different era now to the era that you and I grew up in, where, you know, divorce was much more taboo 40 years ago. There's a lot more kind of liberation around how we do family now, and marriage and divorce and separation and co-parenting and everything. So, you know, a lot has changed, but I think there is still this kind of rhetoric, if you like, that people need to stay together for the sake of the kids. And overwhelmingly, I never say completely, because there's always a bit of wiggle room. Overwhelmingly, staying in an unhappy relationship for the sake of the children does more damage than good. And there's several reasons for that, but one of the real things that I feel really passionately about, and is a constant theme in my work, if my clients are parents. I mean, they're not always parents. In fact, at the moment, I've got probably about half of my clients who are either not parents or have got adult children who have flown the nest and gone. But overwhelmingly, we need to be teaching our children about what a healthy relationship looks like. And if we are staying in an unhealthy or toxic and even abusive relationship for the sake of the children, actually what we are then doing is teaching our children that this is what a relationship looks like, and this is what you can expect from your relationship. Because I guarantee you, what you know, Marlene, we know this stuff. We're so passionate about early childhood, our formative years, our early years experiences. Our very first teachers were our parents.
Mm.
So what our parents' relationship looked like is going to be a fundamental part of what we believe about ourselves, our self-confidence, our self-esteem, how we communicate, how we show love, how we respect ourselves, all of that. Yeah, all of that. And that is what we bring into our relationships. So if that is what we learned from our parents, then it goes without question that that is then what we are teaching our children. And so if we want to be teaching them to have a healthy relationship, we need to be modeling that. And if we are not able to model that, we need to be able to give ourselves permission to leave it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know when I work with couples that quite often it's, you know, I'll say to them, it's about the relationship, your relationship. So that might not be a relationship where you live in the same house together as mummy and daddy, but you might live separately but have a much better relationship that the kids can see. But I do find that couples will cling on because there's almost like this sort of conflict of ideas. There's one part of them that understands what you've just said so eloquently, that it's not good, that what are they teaching their kids? But there's another part of them, this sort of parent bit that says we mustn't give up. Do you find that, you know, and it's that it really feels important that you are saying this today, Pascale, because I think parents need that permission to know that it's not giving up, it's just changing the relationship into a different form.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you're spot on. And I've had this conversation 2 or 3 times over the last few days. The importance of good communication, which is one of the, you know, strong pillars of the work that I do, isn't just about being together. It's about, even if you are not together and you are co-parenting, you still need to have good communication. You know, you still need to have honesty. You still need to have that healthy dynamic where you are able to demonstrate that good relationship that you just mentioned, even if you're apart. You know, the fact of the matter is that you're in a relationship until your kids are, you know, not 18, right? Because you're going to have to go to weddings together. You're going to have to go to birthday parties and celebrations and christenings and everything else. So you really want that to be healthy. And I think if you can demonstrate, and that's why, you know, I'm very, very clear. I have no vested interest. And I don't mean this to sound callous, but like, I don't care whether my clients stay or go. Ultimately, I will help them fix their relationship and improve it if that's what they want to do, and I will also empower them and help them to leave if that's what they want to do. Ultimately, the most important thing for me is that they are happy, because I know that when they are happy, their children will be happy. You know, the most important thing a child needs is to have a parent who is happy, confident, and present.
Do you think that the parents think that they're pretending to be happy and that the kids pick up on it?
Oh God, the kids pick up on it so much. Look, I've just actually been speaking to somebody about exactly this. Her child is 2.5 and is already saying stuff to her, and she thinks that they're doing a fabulous job of masking what's going on. And at 2.5, that child is switched on, aware. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it as a social worker, I've seen it as a therapist, I've seen it in my friends, I've seen it in my own children. You know, our kids are so good at seeing through the gaps.
So it is more harm than good, isn't it, to stay together, because you're not doing the thing you think you're doing. You're not making the great job of pretending that you think you are. So how does self-respect, self-love and respect come into this?
I think self-love and self-respect are an essential part of it, because again, we're talking about the children, right? I mean, I can talk about this for hours. I can talk about this so much, but with regards to the children, we are also talking about teaching them that as individuals, we matter. As a mother, I'll just talk about me because it's an easy situation to kind of talk about. I want them to know that I am not kind of like doing this. As parents, we just want to be good role models, right? We just want to, we want to teach our children that they have a voice, that they matter, that they have choices, that they have self-trust, that they have self-respect. That we want to teach them all of these things. And the only way that we can do that is by doing it ourselves. I can't sit my children down and say, you need to respect yourself, you need to communicate better, you need to be more in touch with your feelings, you need to look after yourself better, you need to hold better boundaries. I can't sit them down at dinner and say, this is how. But what I can do is be it. And when I be it, I teach them it, right? And that goes across the board for every single parent around the world, in how they look after themselves. I don't mean from a kind of like, well, I mean, it's all self-care, but you know what I mean? It's about how you show up for yourself. So, you know, one of the most powerful things, and I heard it absolutely years ago, but I hear it constantly on kind of like Instagram and TikTok and on social media. And it's just the most powerful question, I think, for me, that I've ever heard, is if your children, if your daughter, right, or son, but for me, daughters, was in a relationship like yours, how would you feel?
That's powerful.
I mean,
that's really
if that,
powerful.
I mean, it gives me goose pimples literally just saying it out loud, you know, and there it is. I mean, that kind of like wraps up everything that we've talked about, to be honest with you, because that is the role modeling, that is the self-respect, that is the importance of giving them the confidence that they need, you know, is by being, you know, and if we're not in that kind of relationship, all right, like I said at the beginning, no judgment, no shade, right? People make their decisions for lots and lots of different reasons. Everybody's situation is different. We need to take into account culture, we need to take into account finances, stability, like blah 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 blah. But ultimately, what they are learning is what you are showing. It's not what you're teaching. It's not what's coming out of your mouth. It's what you're doing. And so if you want to have children who are resilient, confident, and have their own boundaries for a healthy, happy relationship later on, then it's not complicated. Like it's not rocket science. It might be complex, but the notion itself is not complicated. Are you being a good example? And that's it. And it's hard, and that's why my clients come to me, and that's why I feel so passionately about what I do, because as a social worker for 18 years who saw generational, I mean, obviously I saw a lot as a social worker, but generational patterns, I see these patterns playing out time and time again, unconsciously repeating the same thing that not just that your parents did, but that your grandparents did, and that their grandparents did. All these little threads that kind of pass down. And if we don't have that awareness, And obviously we see it in our therapeutic practice as well, all the time. So it's just about really, like, it is a big deal. Do you stay or do you go? It is a big decision to make. It's probably one of the biggest decisions that you're ever going to make. And I want to be, my absolute focus with my clients is to make sure that they are making the right decision for them. Because when you make the right decision for you, everything falls into place. Everything.
You know, when you say that you would ask, how would you feel if your children were, you know, grown up in that same relationship? I think that is so powerful, because it really must, I imagine, help with the you know, I was saying earlier about, you know, there's one part of the parent knows that they're doing more harm than good, but the other part is wants to parent them and keep them safe in the nest. You know, to actually be able to ask themselves that question, but actually, what, suppose it was them in this situation, that's a very powerful question to be able to help them overcome that parental drive to keep them in the nest, and actually be able to say,
Yeah.
hang on a minute, if this was them, what would I be saying to them?
Yeah.
And actually a real
Yeah.
awareness there of what the reality of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the number one factor
stuff.
for, go on, Pascale.
Yeah, no, go on. That's it. I was like, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, I was just saying, so the number one factor for raising healthy children then is really what, modeling to them.
Yeah, and being, you know, being happy in yourself, and not masking, not
No
masking being
masking.
happy, because they see through it. They see
Yeah.
through it. But actually, when
Yeah.
you are happy, I could reel off countless clients, countless, who, when they have come out of their marriage, have said their children have thrived.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that their children, sometimes they say, my child is starting to exhibit anxiety, and that, you know, like that's kind of like obvious and that's tangible, but often they don't realize how muted their children are until they come out of it, and suddenly their children flourish, and they're like, wow, I really see the difference now.
Because it's become the norm in the family to deal with the stress. It's just become the norm. So they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Well, you're certainly the person to go to if anybody's in that situation of, should I stay or should I go, particularly with children, to consider as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pascale.
No, my pleasure. So if anybody wants to know more, I've got a free masterclass, which I'm going to pop in the comments below. It's 30 minutes, and it raises some really good points, asks some questions. And of course, if anybody wants to book a call with me, there's a call booking link within it that you can do so. But I'd say just watch the masterclass if you're on the fence and you're not sure what to do. You got nothing to lose.
And I think it's a process, isn't it? Any ending is a process. It's not like we wake up one morning and say, right, I've made my decision. You know, we ebb and flow, we come and go, we think about it, we make a decision, we change our mind, we go around in circles for a while. So to be able to watch that masterclass and then maybe book a call with you and have a conversation with you, it's just like taking a tentative step, isn't it? It's taking a step, and empowering yourself to make the right decision, rather than just sitting there with these thoughts, you know, that have those thoughts. I've made up my mind today, or the next, oh no, I've made up my mind this way. No, I've made up my mind. It's so stressful and exhausting, isn't it? But to be able to have a conversation with you is really just empowering somebody to just get that clarity that they need.
Yeah, and it's a merry-go-round. You just end up going round and round, like hope, despair, hope, despair, hope, despair. You know, we've all been there. We've all been there, whether it's a relationship or a job situation or a
Yeah.
family relationship or any other, you know, that we can relate it to so many things, but this obviously is a huge decision, and one that I take great pride and passion in being able to help my clients with.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pascale. Looking forward to our next conversation next time.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlene. Take care.
Bye.